How you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation? Oh, let it move inside of you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Infinite Perspectives with your hosts, Michelle Diamond and Linda Boston. I am Michelle Diamond, owner and CEO of Next Level Promotions, PR for Linda Boston, and co founder and co host of Infinite Perspectives. Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda Boston, performing, literary, and teaching artist. And I am so happy to be here.
Awesome. I think everyone is. Infinite Perspective is proudly brought to you by Peer, Next Level Promotion, Carlotta Cole the Brand, Moniker Enterprises, and Unlimited Network Property Management. Help us this evening to welcome our special guest, the encourager, Dr. Portia Lockett. Dr. Portia Lockett, welcome. And can you briefly introduce yourself and background to our audience?
And we need to bring her into the studio. She went to her phone. And unfreeze yourself. I don't know what you need to do to wiggle.
We got it.
Okay. You know,
Right.
technology.
Can you hear Dr. Lockett?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, ladies. It is truly my pleasure. I am Dr. Portia Lockett, and I am a grief recovery missionary, inspirational speaker, author, and just a lover of people, helping people to heal, offering them hope, and holding their hearts as they're going through any type of grieving journey. And just honored to be here with you, beautiful queens, tonight.
It's an honor. Listen, I'm going to go straight into the first question. We always ask our guests to introduce themselves. We don't want to tell the world about you. We want you to tell us your journey. So, can you share with us a few more things about yourself?
Well, yes, I am the CEO and founder of the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation, where we help people intentionally heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they're going through any type of grieving journey. And this is something that was placed in my spirit to do. This assignment I received back in 2021 when my son, Azel Benet Lockett, was murdered on the streets of Atlanta. Still a cold case, never been solved. But in this, he came to me and said, "Mom, just move on. Just move forward." So just in my quiet time of healing and listening to the Spirit talk to me about what do I do next, he said, "Start a foundation. And what you're going to do is you're going to be able to provide therapy for individuals who need support. And if they don't have the financial bandwidth to be able to pay for it themselves, you're going to receive funds in order to do that." So that's exactly what we do. If someone comes to us and says, I need therapy, we have a plethora of individuals who have stepped up to the plate and say, "We want to be on your team." So they specialize in grieving on different levels, no matter what the subject matter is. As you know, there's like 40 different plus ways that one can grieve. Also, chronic illness. And we know in our community, the African American community, there are a lot of individuals who are suffering from chronic illnesses such as cancer, diabetes, sarcoidosis. It could be anything that they're suffering from that has been diagnosed with a chronic illness. And so sometimes when you're in that space, you used to have to stop working. And so what we do is we try to help to underwrite the cost of some of those things, make it a little lighter for that individual so they can focus on their healing. And then there's 1 out of 3 people, unfortunately, that don't have a life insurance policy in place. With that said, if someone reaches out to the ABLE Foundation, we will provide them with support for the funeral services and burial for their loved ones. Now, unfortunately, we can't take care of everything and cover all the bills for everybody, but I do believe we make a substantial contribution to whatever that bottom line is. And then what we have is called the permission series: permission to grieve, permission to heal, live and laugh, permission to love again, permission to plan again, permission to move forward, and permission to celebrate. So, how do we do all these things wrapped up in one day? We have individuals that will tell their stories about the experience they've had. We tell their stories about losing a child, losing a loved one, being in a toxic relationship, losing their business, losing their hair, losing someone, anticipatory grief with someone who has been diagnosed with dementia, a parent or a significant.
Yes.
So there's so many different ways. Losing a pet. We've had all types of stories. And then we provide resources such as mental health experts to come in and talk, ministers to be able to come in and talk, to encourage these individuals as they're moving through this journey. And then you know what it says in the Bible. It says laughter is the best medicine. So we come back with permission to live and laugh. We provide comedians to come in and kind of break the ice up a little bit. And then we talk about permission to love again, because sometimes when you're grieving, you stop loving yourself. You forget about the people who love you. And you're just so focused on the situation that you can't see all this love that's trying to reach out to you and just grab you and to help you, but you put everybody and everything on hold. So we help people to find that love within again, learning to love yourself again, falling back in love with yourself, and possibility of opening yourself up to falling in love with someone else again, permission to love again. And then as we plan forward, we have individuals that will come and talk to us about making sure that your wills and your estates are in place. Estate planning is in place. Planning your own funeral. Planning to go back to school and finish what you started. Sitting down and having a conversation with someone about your own life insurance and the understanding type of insurance that one can have. You could have term insurance. And I, for example, I have a life policy or insurance policy on my granddaughter. She is 4 years old. I don't anticipate that she's going to live this world anytime soon. However, she can use those funds to go to school later, or to buy a car, or when she gets married, whatever she decides to do, start a business. And so then we come to permission to celebrate. And we started here in our journey, and now we are here. How do we celebrate? So we talk about that journey, and we open the floor up and allow people to talk about the journey that they've experienced and how the program, the permission series, has evolved and helped them to transition. And then we end up with a huge celebration with African drummers and dancers to reignite the fire within us as African Americans and the communities that we live in right now. And so I'm just excited to be in this space. People always say, well, how do you do it? And I'm not going to say it's easy, but it gives me pleasure to be able to be in a position to be able to help other individuals as they're going through this journey, and understanding that your journey can be completely different than my journey, even though we may experience something very similar. And so there's no comparison, there's no judgment in the journey. To help you heal, offer you hope, and hold your heart as you go through this. And as I mentioned before, I'm an inspirational speaker. And so I go into different, organizations and talk to uplift and to encourage those who may be in that deep, dark space. I'm also the co-author of several books. I developed a healing card deck where you can choose one card every single week that will be able to guide you through some portion of your grieving journey after the loss of a loved one.
Right.
And
you shared that there are so many different forms of grief.
Yes.
I've seen on your website where it's okay to grieve. It's okay to go through what you're going through. And I guess it's a simple question to ask. How do we cope with grief? Are there, other than everybody talks about the 5 stages of grief, but if you don't know how to navigate them, what do? I happen to notice on your website that you have programs to help people move through it. But there was something that caught my eye more than anything, was you had a statement there that said, this may not work for you. You may not be ready to move on. You may not. How do you know whether you need your services?
Mm-hmm. And again, I always tell people, like Jill Scott says, everything is not for everybody. So you have to find your fit, what works for you. And so I always tell people to grant yourself grace. Grant yourself some time to really dig within inside of yourself and decide, what do I need? Do I need to be in a group setting? Because group settings, some
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh, come back if you can.
That's okay.
Uh-huh.
We lost Dr. Lockett. However, this
And
is such an amazing topic, and we will wait for her to come back in. It's so inspiring to hear about her program and what benefits there are, especially when it comes to grieving. And, with everything that we've experienced, because Linda, I know that you suffered a loss recently with, our lovely Aunt Nora. And, we've had multiple within our family unit as well. And it took me to a very dark place where I kind of became an introvert. And Linda, because you and I talk almost every day.
yeah.
And it was rough. And I know that you experienced something very similar. So while we're waiting for Dr. Lockett to get back on, can you just share what it was, the experience that you had dealing with grief?
It's interesting. I had a wake-up call. My sister passed literally a year ago, September 5th. And I happened to have on a shirt of hers that she gave me. Sometimes what I do is wear things that she's given me or write things about her. But more importantly, I had a wake-up call, and it helped me to realize that I am the only one left in my immediate family. And it caused me to go in to an intuitive spot, an intuitive place to really tap into what I was feeling. And know, Dr. Lockett, that if for any reason we need to bring you back, we're going to bring you back. Because this is a subject that is more important than most realize. One of the things that Michelle just asked me was, how did I cope with grief? Because my sister Lorna passed a year ago, September 5th, coming up. Sometimes I wear the clothes that she's given me. Sometimes I sing songs that we would sing together. It's all kinds of ways that we can cope with that grief. And so I know, don't hesitate in continuing exactly where you left off when you were talking, because I was asking you, how do we cope?
Correct.
Can you hear us?
And can you hear us, Dr. Lockett?
Uh-oh. She's trying to get there. We're going to, in fact.
She's having some technical difficulties, and that's fine. It happens. Technology at its best. However, we do apologize, audience, and that's okay. We'll work it out. It happens. But, so Linda, I appreciate you sharing that,
how did you cope?
Expressing how you cope. And it touches me, because for some, like myself, I go into my quiet space and I tend to just say, hey, I need to be away from the world for a moment and have some me time, because I need to analyze everything, like what is going on. And then what I did come to terms with is, through research, I understood that I was going through the seas. Like, did I cause this? Pretty much, could I have done something to prevent this from happening? Can I move on? How do I cope with this? And that's where I found myself. And it was a wake-up call for me. And to say the least, we understand that the different stages of grief is pretty much where I was. I was in that phase where I'm like trying to comprehend what is happening and how it's going to affect my life and how I'm going to pick up and move forward from there. Sometimes it's okay to sit and do that. So, for me, I want my audience to know that it's okay, like we both said, Linda, not to be okay. And that's a term that we use all the time within our sisterhood. It's absolutely okay not to be okay, because no one could tell you, oh, you need to stop grieving, oh, you need to stop worrying, because you have to move at your own pace.
And it's
I'll let you
interesting
pick up
that
from there.
many people often try to tell you what to do and what not to do. And we can't rush anyone through it. We're at a place where we have to give each other grace and give ourselves grace. Dr. Portia Lockett already said,
Yes.
give yourself some grace. And we're going to bring you back. You just need to know that we're bringing you back, because we got to talk more about this.
Oh, absolutely, because we have to hear everything clearly, what you were expressing. So
right,
I know you
right.
heard some of it while you were backstage, but we were talking about how we coped. I went into like a introvert state where I was analyzing everything and using the C's. And I know you're very familiar with, like, did I cause this? How do I cope? Could I have done something to prevent this from happening? And, I understood that that was a part of the stages. And, Linda expressed that she wears some of, Lorna's clothing. She sings some of the songs. So I just want you to pick up from there and let us know, how people experience these different phases. And can you hear us?
Absolutely. As I stated before, everyone is different on their journey. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
Yes, perfect. Yes. And we're bringing you back. So no worries.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. This is the wind. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, let's move forward. I'm grieving now because I can't get my message out the way I desire it to. So I apologize for this. Mm-hmm. However, just in terms of, how we move forward and experience grief. So let's just say, for example, we may have one mother that has transitioned in her grief, and we're all grieving about it. Even though mama will make every child feel like they're her favorite, everybody is going to experience the loss of that mother differently, depending on the relationship. And sometimes it's, the first child, I was the first one out of mom's womb. The second person just said, what, I'm going to move out, a little bit sooner and start my own life. So people are different. They're moving in different spaces. And so when this happens, they may, first of all, acknowledge that mom is gone at a different pace. There may be someone who lived with mom who just says, I can't believe she's gone. We were just having a conversation last night and she appeared to be fine. And all of a sudden, mom's gone and I can't deal with this, right? So that's just accepting it. Sometimes we stay in that denial stage. But even beyond the stages, how can we deal with it? First of all, just opening yourself up to receive help. And so that help may look like being in a group setting. Sometimes it's a one-on-one setting, with a therapist, if you're ready for that. And sometimes you can go to what I have provided is the healing card deck, where it can just encourage you to do different things at your own pace. So for example, when anyone passes away and they're in our family, a few things that we have to do. We have to go to the bank. We have to determine, what's in the bank account, who's in charge of the bank, that on the onset. And after that's all gone, so what do we do now? So how about doing something that's uplifting and encouraging, like have a karaoke party in honor of mom? And we invite the whole family over and we just sing all of mama's favorite songs, regardless of whether it was Motown music or with some Anita Baker, some R&B, and we just celebrate. We just all sing. And guess what? We're going to cry a little bit, but guess what? For the most part, we're going to have some smiles. Another thing I encourage people to do is do some changing. Change the ambiance, change the atmosphere. So if you were like a black and white person, a lot of people were into like the black and white decorating, go get some color. Throw some color pillows on the couch. Change the rug out a little bit. Change the towels that are in the bathroom. Bring some life into the place. Matter of fact, speaking of life, go and buy a tree at Home Depot or Lowe's and plant it in the backyard or at a nearby park in honor of your loved one. Another thing you can do is if that person was into volunteer work or really just had something they were passionate about, such as volunteering with seniors, right? then you can go to your local place, your area of aging, and do some volunteer work to honor what that person was doing out in the community. Or if they were a teacher, you can go in and read to children in the school system. There's just so many different things and ways that you can move through. Another one is just basically just sitting down and relaxing and having a cup of tea and going within and practicing some stillness and some meditation. And again, these are some things that are on my healing cards and things that you can do that people don't traditionally want to do or even know that it's okay to do. And what you said, Linda, was so important. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. So how do we move forward? How do we ask for help? And sometimes asking for help doesn't necessarily mean financial help. Sometimes you just need somebody just to sit with you and just be still and be quiet and cry with you. People always want to say that, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Presence is priceless.
Yes. And just to tap in really quickly, we have a few questions that's coming in. And Carlotta Cole, one of our sponsors and sister and another co-host, posed the question, is it more healthy to change the scenery to let it fade, or is it best to stay and face the grieving in that moment? Or is it best to just go with the flow to what it's comfortable for you?
The latter. Just go with the flow of what's comfortable for you. Sometimes we want to just change things and it's just too sudden. Sometimes you just got to settle there. Some people will say, you know what? I just want to get all these clothes, all these shoes, all these things, because I just want to move forward. And someone else may say, you know what? It's been 5-6 years and I haven't moved anything out of that room. I haven't changed a thing. And so depending on that individual of where they are in their journey, just go with the flow. So, what's best for you?
I have a personal question. I have a family member whose brother passed. And he had been sick a long time. However, after he passed, his wife said, I want all this stuff out of here right now. Come get it. And they literally had a memorial and never even told him. So that takes grief to a whole nother level, a level of disrespect, maybe a level of a whole nother level of grief coping, the dynamics of individuals can change and shape your grieving process so much.
Yeah. A lot of hurt comes out, with grief. And so not defending her at all, but you never know what's going on behind closed doors. I've heard this scenario several times, in over the last 20 years of doing this work. And so one case could have been simply that the couple may not have been getting along, but she felt obligated to stay in that relationship to care for him until he transitioned. She was just tired. To her, in her spirit, in her mind, he was already checked out. He was already gone because he had been sick for so long. And so now she was like, wait a minute, I still got some good years left and I want to live. I've cared for him. He's gone. I'm alive. Right. Now, does that make it right for her to not share in the celebration of life with other folks that loved him? Probably not right. But guess what? Just because they weren't there at that celebration, because he's not there, that the body is no longer here, but the spirit is, you can still have an opportunity to create your own celebration of life and call it whatever you want to. I call it right now, we used to call it funerals. Then it was a celebration of life. Now I refer to it as a celebration of elevation because we're no longer here. We're going to a higher place, wherever that may be. And so when it comes to me, it's going to be a celebration of elevation because I don't have to deal with this anymore, right? Even though I'm enjoying life, but you call it whatever you want to call it and have your own celebration to honor him. You can bring in pictures and have people give their testimonies. And if he was a comedian, bring in a comedy person, a comedian, to celebrate that person, whatever it is that they enjoy doing, celebrate that person that way, that brother that way.
You've got another comment that you made on your website that said, what is purpose-driven grief? And I got the impression that purpose-driven grief is what you personally went through and are still going through. Is that
Yes.
true?
Absolutely. Mine is, and I'm still grieving the loss of my son. I just learned how to deal with it better. And so, because of what I'm doing, I am purposeful in helping others heal and offering them hope and holding their hearts by providing these services through the foundation. And with that being said, I'm also a chaplain at the Detroit Medical Center, and so I deal with people who are grieving not only from the loss of a loved one, but the anticipatory grief of not knowing what's coming next. I'm coming into this operating room and I don't know what the outcome is because they've already told me there's a 50-50 chance. So in my mind, I might be okay. The other 50% is saying not okay. And a lot of times, most of us will dwell on the worst case scenario as opposed to what's the best case scenario. And then let's just focus on what the best case scenario could be. And let's hold that thought right there, to hold that space there. And 9 times out of 10, when you're in that space and you're so focused on I'm healed, I am whole, I am well, then you're telling your mind, your body, and your soul that that's what's getting ready to happen. So being purposeful in your actions. I always say that the mind is so powerful. So whatever you think, you're going to eventually speak. And whatever you speak is going to manifest. Don't any thought is something that has to be learned. But there are a lot of things in life we have to unlearn as it pertains to grief.
Absolutely true. So to piggyback off of you and talk about what you stated about mindsets and how powerful it is, and it takes the work. How can we encourage viewers or anyone that may pull up this video later on that's experiencing grief? How do we encourage them to train their mindsets for the better?
Well, you have to find some mantras or some affirmations that work for you, or scripture. So, for example, if you're going to the scripture path, a scripture such as "I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me," meaning that whatever it is that I'm trying to do, I can move through this grieving journey through Christ. That's going to give me the strength to be able to move forward, to move to the next level, to get through this day, then the next day, and the next day. An affirmation could simply be, today is a good day. Better than it was yesterday, but not as good as it's going to be tomorrow. I'm moving forward from what happened yesterday. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't rewind that tape, but right now I can be present. My mother would say things like this: today is the tomorrow you're worried about yesterday. Isn't that deep? Today
Say that one more time.
Today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday. So we can't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't rewind the tape of what happened yesterday. Let's be in the moment and celebrate where we are right now. Even if I'm grieving, let me take a hold of this grief, and I can't control the grief, but what can I do about this space? Whatever it is that I may be going through, what can I do to get the help that I need? Who can I reach out to? What book can I read? Is there a movie that's relatable to me in this space? Is there a therapist that I need to call? And here's the other thing. A lot of times people will say, I try therapy, right? Whenever we refer anyone to a therapist, we always give them 3 options, because you have to, again, find your fit. Find the person that is relatable to you, that you feel can truly help you on this healing journey.
Yes. Very true.
You have products on your website. You said the grieving cards. I also saw a grieving journal. Can you get these things a la carte on the website?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The cards are only $35, and the journal together is $45. We don't sell the journal by itself because it does complement the cards. So yes, they're $35 and $45 for the set.
That would be a wonderful gift for us to buy for those that we know are grieving.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's sell out your product. You won't even have enough product left because we sending folks to you.
Very true.
Yes,
oh my goodness. So,
That would
Dr.
be
Lockett,
wonderful.
yes, absolutely. And I appreciate Linda for pointing that out. I just want to turn back the clock a little bit. You did mention your son and his passing. And
Yes.
I would like for you to, limit for a moment and just express what it was like for you. And then, if you can, share with us about this amazing foundation that you started for him and what's coming up.
Yes. So thank you so much for that opportunity. As I stated, my son, was murdered. And I'm in this space to help people all the time. I'm that person at the hospital that would take other mothers, fathers, siblings to the morgue to allow them to have that last viewing before they're removed from the hospital to go to the funeral home, the designated funeral home. After we've experienced what we refer to as a GSW, gunshot wound incident. And so when this happened to me, I'm like, I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm that person on the other side, and now I'm on the other side in this space. And it just hurt me to my core, because you're trying to think, you've raised your child a certain way. And because of the person that he was that person that he would come back and forth from Atlanta to Detroit, and he would probably make 10 or 15 stops in 3 days just to stop by loved ones and friends' house, just say, hey, I'm just popping in to see how you're doing. You all need anything? He may not be a long-winded person on the phone. Sometimes we will talk and he would say, Mama, let me hit you quick right back, meaning I'm going to call you back later. And we would just talk. I'm just calling to check on you, OG. And so we just had this dialogue. As a matter of fact, the morning that he transitioned, we had a conversation on the phone. He says, Mom, I just feel like everything is all coming together, and that, I'm going to a whole different level. I can't explain what it is, but I just feel like something amazing is getting ready to happen. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's a beautiful thing. And so, he was starting his own business. He was partnering up with one of his boys to get ready to buy some property. He was getting ready to be a father, all these wonderful things that were happening all at one time. And then boom, everything is coming to an end. So to me, I kept thinking to myself, why me? And I know I'm a little bit different because I'm in a different space spiritually. But I remember the next day, I was sitting at Starbucks at the Marriott Hotel, and I heard the Spirit say to me, be still. I said, be still, be quiet, not just your body, but your mind. Be still and wait. I'm making a transaction. I'm making a withdrawal, but if you wait, I'm going to give you a deposit. Now, at that time, I thought it was going to be my granddaughter, but several months later, it was the assignment of the foundation. Yes. And we're coming up on 3 years. We'll be celebrating our 3rd anniversary, and we're trying to raise money so that we can continue the work to be able to help people heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts as they're going through this journey. And yes, I miss my baby, but in my baby's name, we're able to bless other individuals and talk to other mothers, who are weeping, and calling them up and having conversations, with them, and letting them know that you're not alone. I'm here for you. We get a call or a text message every day or email asking for help. And so I'm calling out my baby's name. And we know that there's a traditional saying that says, as long as the blood runs through my veins, and we continue to call out my baby's name, Azel Benet Lockett, his spirit remains alive. And so that's what I thrive on every day, that my baby's spirit he might not be here in the physical, but in the spirit, man, we're doing some powerful work in the community, and I'm glad about it.
I have to interject. I remember them, your children, when they were little people.
Yes.
They were little bitty guys. Azel was a very reserved, intuitive young man, to me. I have to say that there are no mistakes. As heartbreaking as this has been, there are no mistakes. There is no one who can do this foundation like you, but you. And that's the breakthrough that he was talking about.
Yeah.
He had to give you the foundation to help millions of people.
Mm.
And I don't want to preach
Amen.
to you. You know these things. You know,
Yes.
it's everyone needs to know. My relationship with my sister it had a strange dynamic sometimes. Okay. But her passing has taught me more about me. Same thing with I took care of my mother 9 years in my home. Me caring for her through her transitioning that last months taught me more about me and my purpose. Yeah. And that is what you're saying. You had another comment on your website that talked about gender grief. We're in a time when so many things are changing about gender.
Yeah.
What is gender grief?
Yes.
Because men and women grieve differently. You know, a lot of men will say, you know what, I just got to get over this. It's something I got to deal with. You know, where women typically, we have sister friends and family, we could just call and we could just, cry together and talk together and sit and hold each other. Where men have been taught to pull your pants up, men don't cry, get over it. You still got to go to work every day, as opposed to taking that time off, and taking that time away to be able to sit somewhere and be still and have some brothers, the tribe of brothers, to surround him, to let him know, man, we got you. We got you. But that doesn't happen as often. In smaller groups, you do. It's just truly sad. And then when we talk about the grief in terms of outside of losing a person, we think about what our young folks and people are going through in terms of gender grief, understanding what their gender is, what their gender choices. So this morning I was watching, I can't believe which show it was. I think it was Good Morning America. And they had something on about the bullying and people saying certain things on social media about their cheerleaders that were men on some of the NFL teams, and how the teams were standing. So if you can imagine, being in this space and being bullied, because of your gender, or your gender choice, I should say, we get bullied for so many things. You can just get bullied just for being too tall, for wearing glasses. People hurting people hurt people. And so,
couldn't have said it any better than that.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate. And so until we learn how to heal, then we can't heal with reality.
Absolutely.
And even flipping that back, we have to be able to feel in order to heal, to open ourselves up to the help that we need. I see somebody wrote something. Carlotta's back on, and she said something, if you want to read that.
Yes. Carlotta stated, wow, all its incidents are directing us to a higher purpose, a higher calling. And I couldn't agree more. Absolutely true. And I just wanted to pose another question about there's so many different forms of grief, and there are different ways that people cope with grief. I know we talked about the gender grief, and in today's society, we see a lot, which is a two-part for you. There's colorism grief, which I would like you to go into, as well as Black grief, dealing with what we're having to cope with in society today. What are your thoughts behind that?
Okay. So I think everybody has a different definition of colorism. So so I can answer your question appropriately, share with me what your definition of colorism is.
So the colorism that I am referencing, it's pretty much growing up in the islands, and this is something that I'm heavily into. We have prejudice against our own people based on the shades or the complexion of their skin, and then you're in a different elite class based on that, and then you're shamed because, oh, you're too dark to be a part of this group, and then we all struggle with it because then if you're too light, there's an issue there as well. So
Mhm.
that's what I was referencing.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure because sometimes in different rooms you have different ways of expressing the definition. So I just want to be clear.
Absolutely.
As it pertains to that's something that has been instilled in us from way back when. You know, it used to be a time when, you know, light and bright and almost white, you know, they were looked at like, you know, you're not really Black because you got some white in you. But if we search our history, we all have a little bit of something in us. It is what it is. But how do we accept it? And learning how to, I always say, go within and accept the person within, because we are not and should not be defined by the color of our skin. It's what lies in between.
Mhm.
You know, can we communicate? What level of communication are we focusing on? You know,
Correct.
in terms of, you know, within our own race, you know, you hear that all the time without even going outside into other cultures and to other countries. You know, we have this same thing here, you know, within the United States, you know, how we hire and how we're accepted into the various rooms to be able to make decisions because of the lighter your skin, the more opportunities that you may get. And that still happens now, but I don't think it is as common as it used to be. But once you just take a look at yourself in the mirror and just accept who you are and not be so concerned about how people are looking at you. I tell people all the time, when you can look in the mirror and say, I am who I am, because I know
Amen.
who I am and whose I am. That's where we start. So who are you? When people say, well, who are you? Then we can have that conversation with saying who I am.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for explaining that to us and even giving us further insight into it. We had an amazing question from Indigo off of our YouTube viewers. They posed a question, what about delayed grief? My dad died when I was 9. I didn't cry or acknowledge the pain until I was in my 20s.
Wow, that's I feel you. I have a spiritual daughter who had something very, very similar. And so when you're 9 years old, you really don't understand, you know, life and death as much. So when you get in your 20s, then you start to realize I didn't have a father. And he's not here to see me get married. He wasn't here to see me graduate. He wasn't present to be able to see me evolve into the young lady that I am right now. He just wasn't here. And I'm not sure how this person passed away. It could have been an illness. It could have been a tragic situation. I'm not really sure. But I will say this, is that it's completely different. And so now you just have to figure out a way to celebrate whatever memory you had of your father.
Absolutely.
Celebrate whatever memory you have of your dad. And yes, it's delayed because, again, you've had all these successes, all these different things, you know, happen in your life through your journey. And he wasn't here to celebrate with you or to honor you into your growth of the woman that you are right now. So yes, there is a such thing as delayed grief.
If I could piggyback on that, not ever knowing who your father was, and your father being in existence in the world, not knowing who he is, and then finding out when you're 50 that he's passed.
Yes.
The absence of that father is a form of grief, especially if you don't deal with that. And then the mother passing creates another form of grief. So now you've got that layered thing going on.
Right.
And that's where you say it's not okay to stay that way.
That's right. And then there's situations. I have a spiritual daughter whose father was in and out of prison the majority of her life. So she suffered the fact that even though he hadn't passed, he was still living, he was not present. And so then when he finally got out and he was living a good life for a moment, but then he got back into that life that he was living prior to getting into prison. And then he was murdered. And so now she's like, you weren't here prior to, and now I'm always grieving that, but now I'm grieving that you'll never be here because you're completely gone. So there's so many different things. Again, you said drugs, and so I would highly suggest, my sweetheart, if you can, to find a therapist that focuses on that subject matter right there. An unpresent father, grief, delayed grief, because as I said at the very beginning, there are so many people who are experts in different forms of grief. And so as you're interviewing your future therapists, because they're working for you, so you've got to do some interview work, right? Ask that specific question and you'll find your fit. And God bless you.
You do some individual and group things that you order through your site. What are those grieving workshops that you do?
So I am not a therapist. I am a grief recovery method specialist. And so there's a process that I utilize through as a grief recovery method specialist. And it's usually like an 8 to 12 week program. I do it with individuals as well as with a group, but it's work. There are homework assignments, there are discussions and follow-up conversations. So it's not like we just come and we just sit and we just chat it up. There's work. Every single week that we get together, there is an assignment. And we encourage each other on this assignment so that we can all grow through the grief process.
Right.
Does
That's
insurance
great.
cover it?
Unfortunately, it does not.
Yeah. Indigo has another
Wow.
state.
Yeah, it's very deep.
Yeah, there you go. I was angry. It wasn't until my 40s that I found compassion for his life.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because you never know what led him or started him on that drug journey. Maybe it was someone that he saw doing it and pulled him into that lifestyle. Maybe that's how he dealt with grief. Maybe he was grieving from something. And sometimes people will just say, I'm just going to do it this one time. I'm just going to take this one drink. And next thing you know, you're hooked. So we don't really know his story, but that's a great step for you to say, even though it took you till you're 40 years old, you found that compassion for your dad. And I would suggest write him a letter. Dear Dad, these are the things that you missed out on. Dad, I was mad at you. I was pissed off at you. And let me tell you why. But now I'm in a good space today, Dad. Just start writing letters to him. You won't give them to him. You could just throw them away, or you could just create a journal book and just say, here, dear. So now I'm 40 years old. Let me tell you what I'm doing now. Let me tell you about the successes. Let me tell you about the children, your grandchildren that you'll never meet. Just start writing a book, write them a letter. And sometimes that just helps to get it. Tears are going to come, but guess what? Let them flow. Taste the tears. Because as you taste those tears, one day they'll begin to taste a little bit sweeter than they've ever tasted before. Taste your tears.
And Indigo said, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes. I want to go ahead. Go ahead.
So I have some shares and would like some insight because you're giving some great advice here. So as a child, and it's a big share, I was molested quite a few times. And for me, I tend to, whenever something happens in life, whether it comes to a loss or something that's troubling, an obstacle, or whatever the case may be, I tend to become an introvert and I block everyone and close myself off to the world. And I want to pose the question, is that a normal reaction? And if so, how can I move past that?
That is a normal reaction. And I would just tell you, like I've told the audience, is that we have to find you someone that can work with you. Now, let me just preface this by saying, I stated that as a grief recovery method specialist, I don't accept insurance. However, the team that we have, most of them do accept insurance. And so I'll be more than happy to connect you with one of those therapists. And there is one specifically on our team. And she's just phenomenal, who went through something like that, very similar in her past. But now that's where her whole focus is, in helping other women and young men to be able to move through that portion of their life when they were molested, and how to forgive, ownership of themselves. Because a lot of times people say, it was my fault if I hadn't gone upstairs, or if I didn't answer that call. I didn't know if I didn't go over that friend's house. I didn't know, and it's not your fault. Getting out of that self-guilt. It's not you. You cannot take ownership of that. It was not your fault. Period.
Yes.
I'll be more than
I
happy to make an
completely
introduction to someone I think would really, really be a blessing to you.
absolutely. And this is going to be a little bit longer of an interview because it's so deep for me. I'm sharing because I know there are others out there, and I would love your feedback on it as well as Linda's. Transparency is key, and I'm at the stage in my life where I'm living and walking in my purpose. And my purpose is to share what I've experienced and how I'm coping and how I'm planning to move forward. And this platform is allowing us all to share these experiences so that we could help somebody, understand that they're not alone. The struggle is not their own. They have others that have experienced something very similar, and there's ways to deal with it. So I just truly appreciate you being here. And with that being said, the part of the struggle for me is I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, right? And no shame on the organization. Love them, love some of the fundamentals that they instill because it made me a better person. However, the rebuttal there is, one of the persons that molested me was within the congregation, and they were in an elder status. And I was pretty much blamed by the elders and the other brothers based, and this is my speculation, based on the relationship they had with that person and the stature. What behooved me was when the elders came to my home and spoke with my aunt and I was blamed. I don't know if you guys remember, back in the day, we used to have this cute little top that was called the baby doll dress. And you had the little pants with the stirrups with the little elastic band that goes around your foot.
Right.
And I just knew it was just great, cute, nothing crazy about a baby doll dress, right? That is what I was wearing when I was molested. To say the least, the brothers in turn looked at me and said, it was my fault. I shouldn't have been wearing that outfit. You know that you develop fast. You shouldn't be wearing anything that accentuated your body. At that point, at 12 years of age, I was taken back like, wait a minute, what? What just happened? Explain to me. I'm crying. I'm scared. I'm nervous. And that's what has been
It's okay.
a part of my progress in life, because I never truly healed or moved on from it, because later on that person eventually passed away and I didn't have the opportunity to express to that person in my adulthood how they made me feel. Now I'm like, okay, I can write a letter and let it go, because it's not my burden to carry. This boulder is not mine. The weight shouldn't be on my shoulders anymore. Mm-hmm. However, I know that so many other women and even young men experience the same thing. And it's not to shun or shame the congregation. However, something has to be done, because you're losing your members based on how you are looking and treating a certain situation. You shouldn't be judged or looked down on based on, oh, you're dressing a certain way. What about the person that did the wrong? So you're telling us that it's okay for that person to do that act, but it was not okay for you to look the way you look. You can't help how you develop. and now that I'm mature, I understand that. But back then, I looked in the mirrors, it's like, why are you growing boobs so fast? What's going on with you? You need to be ashamed of yourself. And really shaming myself because of how I was looking. So, yeah, that's my share.
And there are many people,
Ooh,
male, female, boys, and girls, that are going through the same thing today.
Mhm.
It's an interesting, we have compassion for my sister. Michelle is my sister. She found me, I found her, and she is a wonderful person. But it is sad how many people are ostracized and treated because of choices that other people have made against them.
Mhm.
I know of people, her story is so common. I know so many people that have been through that. And there are males and females that have been through it. In fact, when you said gender grief, I was thinking about a parent who finds out that their child has chosen a different lifestyle, and the grief that the parent is going through about losing their daughter or losing their son in the traditional sense.
Mhm.
How do they deal with that? I know some fathers who won't even accept their sons because they're gay.
Mhm.
That's a form of
mm,
grief because the father is just not going to say nothing about it. But it's they don't talk it out, and communication, I would think, would be the key. Can you share how to have that conversation with someone you need to have a conversation with?
Yeah. And I go back to, the therapy piece.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to feel what you feel. And so from a father's perspective, he's thinking that this son of his is going to grow up, be this football player, this basketball star, be this engineer, and all of a sudden you don't want to do any of that. First of all, you want to have a totally different lifestyle. That was not the plan. That was not the plan. And so we need to be able to sit down and have those conversations. I remember when I was growing up, there was a young man that went to my church, and he played the piano, and everybody just our families were very, very close knit. And I remember him starting to arch his eyebrows, and the fingernails began to grow, and we began to see the budding of the breast. And I remember when he was going through this transition that his mother just lost it. And it was very hard for her for years to be able to accept. But now they've come to this space where they love each other, they travel together. I mean, they look like sisters. It's just amazing because I think she had him when she was like 16 years old, and they're like best friends, being best friends. And
Right.
but they had to go through to get through to be in the space they're in right now.
Mhm. You got to
And
go through to get
sometimes
to
we
the
just need to sit down and just have a discussion and just be open and have yeah, to get through, right? But
Mhm.
also just being open to hear your child out and just and to let them explain and just, this is who I am. And parents need to be in a position, I'm going to love you no matter what. This wasn't your plan. You may say it wasn't God's plan. Maybe it was. You just have to be in a space to be open, to have the conversation.
Mhm. Mhm.
yes. And
Yeah.
our sister and my auntie Carlotta, co-hosted, supporter, also said, "Amen, Linda. God got you, Michelle. You have always been perfect and complete." Oh, thank you. I'm far from perfect, but I love you. I know you always say that. Love you too. Truly
Well,
appreciate
can,
that love
can
and
we ask
support.
that?
We have each other.
Yeah, I know we've been on a while and we've gone past
Go
the
ahead,
hour,
Linda.
but this is a question that we always ask, and I'm hoping it's okay for me to ask it right now. If you could tell your younger self,
Mm.
maybe the younger mother or the Portia before the mother, maybe I'm asking both questions. What would you tell the younger Portia before she had children
Uh-oh.
and the younger Portia after she's had her children? What advice would you give that woman? Those
I'll
two
start
women.
with, yeah. So the younger Portia is just be you. After pleasing God, please yourself. Don't be concerned about what other people think about you. Just do you. Get to know you. Be the best for if you whatever it is. Don't put it on the back burner or try to get things perfect. Just step out in faith and just do it. And once you step out in faith and do it, then whatever it is that you're doing, it's only going to get better, and you're going to shine a little bit brighter as you're doing what you do. And in terms of being a mother, you can't fix your kids. Be open to whatever it is they want to talk to you about. My sons and I, we have a good open conversation, right? But if I could go back, I probably would have, specifically my Azel, I would have kissed him a little bit more. And I'm a very affectionate person, but I would have kissed him a little bit more. I would have hugged him a little tighter. I would have not put so much emphasis on perfection in their education. Just do your best. Have fun with your children. Don't be so concerned about the house being so perfectly clean. That don't even matter. Spend time with your children. And what I've come to learn is the more I listen, the more I know.
Mm-hmm. I have to also say, go ahead. Let me listen.
The more I listen, the more I know. And when they know that they can come to me and talk to me about anything and without feeling judged, it just brings us so much closer. And
I have learned tremendously from you this evening. You know my daughter Aziza.
Yes.
And I have learned in this 1 hour the importance of accepting her affection. She's very affectionate. And I'm like, girl, go on. You messing with me. I need to receive it all the time. And I vow that she will see the difference. I know she listened. Yes. I will vow that she will see the difference. Indigo has also said it's great that we're acknowledging grief, not just in the scope of death. I have grieved myself life experiences many times. We grieve about losing a job. We grieve about a pet that died. We grieve about it all.
Mm-hmm. Gaining weight, losing weight. You know,
you named it.
Out of the relationship, looking in the mirror and saying things are going south when they used to go north. But you know, as women, we just got to look in the mirror. People in general, look in the mirror and just say, I'm just accepting myself for who I am today. And I'm going to love myself from my nose to my toes and everything in between, my mind down my spine. Lord, give me the ability to love myself. Matter of fact, right before COVID, my sister friend and I hosted a I Love Myself party. We did 2 of them. And it was all about how do you love yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And it was powerful. And so if we can get to just learning how to love ourselves, and the more you love yourself, the easier it is to love others. And sometimes it's hard to love others that you don't like. But God made us all, the Creator made us all. So we got to find something in everybody that's lovable. It's there. Sometimes we got to dig a little deep in order to find it, but there's love in all of us.
There are many women collectives that are around that are helping to support us during times of grief. And in fact, when you talk about COVID was the worst time for me in my life, in a way. I grieved and I was angry, literally angry, because of this lockdown situation. But when I think about Love Yourself Party, if you start that on your website again and make it live and we can come to party with you, I'm there, baby.
Yes.
Audrey,
we have another comment.
Yeah, go ahead. Go on and say it, Michelle.
Oh, no. Audrey stated sometimes the greatest grief isn't not from those we have left the earth, but those on earth who we
Want more from, yeah.
from.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, we want more from.
Wow.
And you know what, Sister Audrey, sometimes people just don't have the capacity to give us or love us the way we desire to be loved or deserve to be loved. And so some of those relationships have to come to an end, and it's okay to say that this season, this relationship has served its purpose. I enjoyed it and I learned some things from it. Now I have to move on to a space that is now unoccupied so I can get the love that I desire to have and want to receive.
Mhm.
But people only treat us the way we allow them to treat us. So if you're not feeling good about this situation, if that person or persons are not bringing you joy, they're not trying to enhance your happy space, it's okay to let them go. Let them go and move on, because you're good. You got it going on. You're one of God's best. You're one of God's favorites. And so get into that happy space, get into that joy space of doing what brings you pure joy, because it
Ashe.
resonates with you. So many men who says, well, she's
Ashe.
walking around angry, she's got an attitude or whatever. But when you come across like, you know what, I love myself. And if I let you in my space, that's a bonus for you, because I'm it. Boom.
Ooh.
Okay. So
Ooh,
clear that
so
space, clear
good.
the energy
That
out,
was so
to
good.
allow yourself to open to receive what God has for you.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
I love that.
Ooh.
Oh,
Listen,
that was amazing.
you've got that,
We
that
wanna
foundation.
just-
Yeah.
oh no, go ahead, Linda.
Yeah,
because
I just don't want people to miss the Azale Ben Lockett's Foundation 3rd anniversary prayer breakfast, September 6th, 2025. Tickets are available and donations are being taken, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
If you
wanted
can't
to
come, you can
have
donate.
right again. Dr. Lockett, we are truly honored to have you here with us this evening. And at this time, I would like for you to share where your viewers can follow or find you, and give some more details about any upcoming events or programs that you have.
Yes. Well, this is the main thing that we're focusing on right now, the 3rd anniversary of the Azale Benet Lockett Foundation, the prayer breakfast. If you want to stay in contact with me, I am Dr. Portia Lockett on LinkedIn. I am Dr. Portia Lockett on Facebook, also through the Azale Benet Lockett Foundation on Facebook, as well as Dr. Portia on Instagram. And you can also just
Love it.
Google Dr. Portia Lockett, and you'll see all the wonderful things that I'm doing. God has prepared me to do, and some of the things that I've done in the past.
We
Yes,
can't miss that
amazing.
beautiful face of yours. We will not miss it.
Absolutely. I love that.
I've got to come back. There was so much that was happening at the very beginning, so I would love to be able to come back, Michelle and Linda.
Oh, we are. We are definitely bringing you back, because we have so much more to delve into.
Yes.
I would like to close this with a quote, or better yet, words of wisdom. Grief changes shape, but it never ends. However, as we become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities opens up in our lives. It means fear is no longer a dominant factor in what we do, and no longer prevents us from taking action to initiate change. Find solace knowing that we have once enjoyed, we truly can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. Navigating grief and moving forward can feel like an immense undertaking, and it's okay not to be okay, and to acknowledge the pain and loss, while simultaneously reminding ourselves of our inner strengths and possibilities of a brighter now and future.
And here's another thing. Every loss is valid, right? And every loss is not the same. You can't flatten the landscape of grief and say that everything is equal, because it isn't. What we can do is take the necessary steps to heal, to think bigger, to forget limits, and to embrace the idea of infinite possibility. It will change you. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in this evening, and we hope that this interview was informative and encouraging. If you find yourself needing support or guidance, please utilize the provided links and the contact that we've provided of Dr. Lockett. And we want you, more than anything, to have a magnificent growth with your life, with the points that she has given us, and to have a great evening. Sleep well, and know that you are loved. Have a good evening.
Oh, and before we go, Raquel Simpson posted, love this, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing your personal journeys, and may God give you strength to cope, to bless you, and what you're teaching others to do and become. I love that. Thank you, Sissy. That's my sister.
That's my sister.
Thank you for tuning in. Yes, and that is
Love
Linda's
you,
sister as well. We love her. And Dr. Lockett, it was so amazing again, and we're just reiterating to have you with us, and we're bringing you back for sure, because when I tell you, you've been a breath of fresh air, and just allowing me to have this safe space. And this platform is a safe space, just to put it out there for others to come on and share. And thank you for, embracing that and letting me know that what I was experiencing is okay. And I'm in the process of fully healing. And I appreciate that. And yes, I'm looking forward to that contact.
So I'll say this. Here's to life and here's to love.
Yes.
There's a song that says, no complaints and no regrets. I still believe in love and placing bets. I believe all you give is all you get. So here's to life, my sisters. And I love you all.
I love you more.
You too, my sister. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Portia Lockett was on Fox 5 Chicago today. I don't know how she juggled it. She juggles everything. She's so amazing. So make sure you go back.
A young man, wait a minute, a young man that I love dearly named Walter sent me that message. You know who that is.
Listen, she's a force, okay? And she's a woman that wears many hats, and we absolutely adore her.
Oh my God. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lockett. And we will see you soon.
Okay. Peace and blessings.
All right.
Bye.
Peace and blessings. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we love you all.
How you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation?